Have you ever woken up at 3 a.m. for no apparent reason? That moment when your eyes snap open in the dark, your mind fully alert, while the world around you remains silent? That's not a coincidence. It's not just a sleep disorder. According to Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists of all time, this awakening could be a direct message from your soul. Jung firmly believed that our unconscious communicates with us through meaningful patterns. He called this synchronicity, those seemingly random events that actually carry deep messages from within. And the moment you wake up during the night might be one of the most powerful signals your soul is trying to send you. These internal clocks, these recurring awakenings, are more than just sleep interruptions. They are calls from your deeper self, brief windows opening between the realms of consciousness and the unconscious. And today, I'm going to reveal what your soul might be trying to say when it chooses to wake you at specific hours of the night. How many nights have you spent staring at the ceiling, feeling a deep restlessness, that sense that something important is slipping just beyond your understanding? That moment when you wake up and for some reason feel completely alert, as if you've been summoned for something vital. The frustration of not being able to fall back asleep, while thoughts and emotions float just beneath the surface of your awareness. You are not alone. This experience, common yet often dismissed, carries a meaning far deeper than modern medicine typically recognizes. In ancient traditions, sleep wasn't just a biological process. It was sacred, a nightly ritual of communion with other dimensions of existence. In today's modern society, we've lost much of that connection. We live disconnected from natural rhythms, from the subtle messages our soul tries to send us. We treat sleep as a mere biological need, insomnia as a disorder to be fixed. And in doing so, we silence essential inner voices that are vital to our spiritual and psychological growth. If you feel that nighttime restlessness, that sense that something is trying to surface, know this: you're not going crazy. It's not just stress or anxiety. As Jung discovered over decades studying the human psyche, your unconscious is communicating, your soul is speaking, and now is the time to learn how to listen. Carl Jung developed an entire theory around what he called the collective unconscious, a vast ocean of symbols, archetypes, and ancient wisdom shared by all humans. He believed this timeless reservoir is always trying to reach us, to guide us on the path of individuation, the journey toward becoming our true whole self. To Jung, sleep wasn't merely physical rest, it was an immersion into that primordial ocean of wisdom. And the moments we wake up, especially when they occur repeatedly at specific times, are moments when we are being called to receive a message. Imagine your soul standing on the other side of a door. During the day, the noise of life, the distractions, the worries, makes it nearly impossible to hear the soft knocking. But at night, in the stillness, when the defenses of the conscious mind are down, you can finally hear it. And sometimes that message is so urgent, your soul literally wakes you up to make sure you receive it. The good news is, once you learn how to decode this language of the night, these sleep disturbances can become sacred opportunities for growth and self-awareness. What once felt like a problem, insomnia, waking in the middle of the night, can become a doorway into a deeper connection with yourself. To truly understand the meaning of these nighttime awakenings, we need to dive into Jung's view of sleep and its different stages. For Jung, sleep wasn't a single, uniform state. It was a journey through multiple layers of the unconscious. And each period of the night gives us access to different aspects of our psyche. Jungian analytical psychology places dreams at the very center of self-discovery. He saw dreaming as a direct conversation with the unconscious, a way for the psyche to process and integrate material that our waking consciousness can't handle on its own. But Jung went beyond dreams. He realized that simply waking up at certain hours carried meaning, especially when it happened over and over again. He made a key distinction between the personal unconscious, made up of repressed memories and forgotten experiences, and the collective unconscious, that deep well of human experience that transcends time and culture. Both can express themselves not only through dreams but through our sleep and wake patterns themselves. That's why, if you find yourself waking up at the same time every night, you may not be dealing with just a sleep issue. you could be receiving messages from different layers of your psyche, and depending on the hour, that message could come from a very specific part of your being. Ancient spiritual traditions all over the world understood this. In traditional Chinese medicine, for instance, every organ in the body is linked to a specific hour of the day or night, reflecting the flow of vital energy. In medieval Christian monasticism, the night was divided into prayer vigils, recognizing that different hours offered different spiritual qualities. Jung, a serious student of these traditions, wove this ancient wisdom into his scientific understanding of the human psyche. He saw these systems not as superstition, but as refined observations of the soul's movements, encoded in symbolic language. Now let's explore what it might mean to wake up at specific times during the night. Each period holds a unique quality, a particular message your soul may be trying to deliver. And understanding these messages could completely transform your relationship with sleep, and more importantly, your relationship with your own inner growth. The period between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. represents what Jung would call the portal of the subconscious. This is the moment when we begin transitioning from the conscious to the unconscious. When the ego's defenses begin to relax, deeper material starts to rise. If you often wake up around this time, your shadow, that part of you that holds suppressed, denied, or unacknowledged aspects, is calling for your attention. Jung believed that shadow work is essential to psychological development. When we ignore these hidden parts of ourselves, our anger, fears, unacceptable desires, they don't go away. They grow stronger in the unconscious, and eventually find ways to emerge, often disturbing our sleep exactly during these early hours of the night. If you consistently wake between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m., ask yourself, what am I refusing to see in my life? What emotions am I repressing? What parts of myself am I avoiding? Your awakening at this time is an invitation to begin a dialogue with your shadow, to recognize and integrate those neglected aspects of your being. One practical exercise for those who wake at this hour is to keep a notebook by your bed. When you wake, write down your thoughts and feelings without filtering. Don't try to analyze them yet, just record them. Over time, patterns will begin to emerge, revealing parts of your shadow that are asking to be seen. Simply giving those feelings a voice can calm the unconscious, making it feel heard, and gradually restoring balance to your sleep. Between 1 and 3 a.m., we enter the realm of what Jung called the animus and anima, the masculine and feminine, energies that live within each of us, regardless of our biological gender. This is the hour of deep intuition. It's a time strongly connected to relationships, how we relate to others and to different aspects of ourselves. Waking consistently between 1 and 3 a.m. suggests your internal energies might be out of balance, or that key relationships in your life need attention. Maybe you've been neglecting your intuitive side, repressing your sensitivity, the anima. Or maybe you're struggling to express strength, assertiveness, or structure, the animus. It's also during this period that messages about your interpersonal relationships tend to emerge. If you're waking up around 2 a.m. every night, ask yourself, what relationships in my life feel out of balance? Am I listening to my intuition about the people around me? Am I expressing both my strength and my sensitivity in a healthy, integrated way? A powerful practice for those who wake up at this hour is intentional visualization. When you awaken, instead of trying to force yourself back to sleep, sit up, breathe deeply, and visualize your body being filled with light. Imagine that light balancing your internal energies, harmonizing the masculine and feminine within your psyche. This simple act can not only help you process the message being delivered, but also ease you back into restful sleep. Then comes the period between 3 and 5 a.m., a time many spiritual traditions call the dark night of the soul. Jung saw this window as especially important in the process of individuation, the journey toward becoming your whole, authentic self. This is the hour of spiritual transformation. Waking up consistently at this time, especially around 3 or 4 a.m., often means you're undergoing a profound psychic transformation. Old structures within your personality are dissolving to make room for the new. Limiting beliefs are being challenged. A new level of consciousness is trying to emerge, Many people describe a strange blend of fear and awe when they wake up during this time. It's common to feel vulnerable, alone, but also strangely connected to something greater. It's as if the veil between worlds is thinner, offering glimpses into deeper dimensions of existence. If you're regularly waking during this period, your soul is signaling that it's ready for significant transformation. Ask yourself, what needs to die in me so something new can be born? What outdated structures in my life no longer support my growth? What new dimension of my being is trying to emerge? A highly effective technique for working with these awakenings is the practice of conscious witnessing. Rather than reacting with fear or frustration when you wake, adopt a calm, observing attitude. Feel the sensations in your body. Watch the thoughts that arise without identifying with them. This quiet, mindful detachment creates sacred space, where transformation can unfold naturally, without ego interference. Finally, between 5 and 7 a.m., we approach what Jung would call the awakening of higher consciousness. It's the time when the unconscious begins handing control back to the conscious mind, but now in a more integrated state, closer to what Jung described as the self, the organizing center of the psyche that both transcends and includes the ego. Waking consistently during this time, especially if you feel unusual clarity or sudden insights, could mean that your self is trying to communicate important realizations. Maybe you're ready to integrate the lessons from the unconscious into your waking life. Maybe a new direction, a creative solution to a long-standing issue, or a deeper understanding of your purpose is beginning to unfold. Dawn has always been recognized in spiritual traditions as a time of renewal, of promise, of transcendence over limitation. If you often wake up just before sunrise, your psyche may be signaling your potential for growth and expansion. Ask yourself, what new realization is trying to be born in my consciousness? What higher aspects of myself am I ready to bring into the world? A valuable practice for those who wake at this time is the dawn meditation. If you wake up naturally before sunrise, instead of forcing yourself back to sleep, sit quietly and observe the sunrise, either through a window or in your inner mind's eye. Allow the increasing light outside to reflect the awakening of light within. Profound insights can often arise during this simple practice. Now that we've explored the meaning behind different times of night awakenings, let's go deeper into how to interpret and integrate these nightly messages into your everyday life. Jung developed several techniques to communicate with the unconscious, and these can be adapted specifically to work with nighttime awakenings. The first, and perhaps most essential, is what Jung called amplification. Unlike straightforward interpretation, which can be limiting, amplification expands the meaning of a symbol or experience, connecting it to wider, universal and personal patterns. When you wake at a certain hour, the first step is to record not just the time, but also your physical sensations, emotions, and thoughts present in that moment. What was the quality of your awareness when you woke up? Was there a leftover image from a dream? A strong emotion? Write it all down without judgment or analysis. Over time, you'll start to see patterns. Maybe you always wake up at 3:15 a.m. after high-stress days, or maybe your 4 a.m. awakenings consistently come before moments of breakthrough, creativity, or clarity. These patterns are precious clues, your soul's way of whispering truths that are otherwise drowned out by the noise of waking life. The next step is to learn how to distinguish between awakenings caused by everyday anxiety and those that carry meaningful messages from the unconscious. Jung believed that the quality of the experience was a key indicator. Awakenings triggered by daily stress tend to come with looping thoughts, mental noise centered around known worries. But awakenings that carry messages from the unconscious feel different. There's often a subtle sense of meaning, even if it's not immediately clear, a strange clarity, or the feeling that you're in the presence of something greater. Once you recognize a meaningful awakening, the next step is to actively engage with the message. Jung developed the technique of active imagination precisely for this purpose, to open a conscious dialogue with the unconscious. Rather than trying to figure out the message intellectually, you enter the experience and interact with it directly. Let's say you wake at 2 a.m. feeling a strong sense of unease. You can use active imagination to explore this moment. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and allow the uneasiness to take form in your mind. Maybe it becomes an image, a voice, a landscape. Whatever shape it takes, start a dialogue with it. Ask, who are you? What are you trying to tell me? Why did you wake me up at this hour? It's crucial to approach this dialogue with genuine curiosity. No judgment, no rigid expectations. The unconscious speaks mainly through symbols and impressions, not clear-cut instructions. Your role is to stay open and receptive, letting the message unfold in its own rhythm and language. Jung also emphasized the power of synchronicity, meaningful, coincidences that connect your inner world to external events. Nighttime awakenings are often linked to synchronicities that unfold the following day. For example, you might wake at 3:33 a.m. with a vivid image of a bluebird. The next day, you see bluebirds everywhere, in a conversation, in a book, in a random ad. Jung wouldn't call this coincidence, but a meaningful pattern emerging from the collective unconscious, asking for your attention. To recognize these synchronicities, cultivate what Buddhist traditions call mindfulness. Stay present, observing both your inner world and your surroundings with openness and curiosity. Keep track of synchronicities that seem linked to your nighttime awakenings. Over time, these connections will start forming a personal map, an evolving blueprint of your inner transformation. Now that we've explored how to interpret nighttime awakenings, let's talk about how to transform what seems like insomnia into a path of personal enlightenment. Jung believed that every symptom, every disorder, holds not just a problem, but the seed of its own solution, the potential for a new level of integration and awareness. One of the most powerful rituals you can create is the Night Insight Journal. Unlike a typical dream journal, this one is dedicated specifically to the moments when you wake up during the night. Keep it by your bed with a pen that writes in the dark, or even a voice recorder. Whenever you wake, write down your impressions immediately. Don't try to organize or clean up your thoughts. The raw, unfiltered entry is precious because it captures content before your waking mind has had the chance to reshape it. Periodically, maybe once a week, review these nighttime records. You'll start to notice recurring themes, symbols that keep showing up, or connections to events in your waking life. These patterns are the unconscious mapping its own territory, revealing the deep structures of your psyche. Besides written records, Jung highly valued creative expression as a way of giving form to symbolic material. If a specific image appears, during your awakenings, consider drawing it, painting it, sculpting it, using whatever artistic medium resonates with you, even if you don't think of yourself as creative. The goal is not to produce art, but to give tangible form to the inner world, making it easier to integrate its contents. Jung believed that symbols hold transformative power when they are materialized. Creating a physical expression of a symbol that emerged during the night is like building a bridge between the unconscious and the conscious, allowing psychic energy to flow freely between them. Another key element is synchronizing your sleep cycle with your individuation process. Jung saw individuation, the journey of becoming your true self, not as a straight path but a dynamic balance, a dance between the conscious and the unconscious. And that dance is reflected directly in the quality of your sleep. When you wake up at night with a powerful message, the challenge is to receive it without letting it rob you of the rest you need. One effective technique is what we might call receive and return. When you wake, acknowledge it consciously. I'm awake now and open to any message my unconscious may be sending. Do a quick journal entry, then deliberately practice returning to sleep. A helpful tool for that is rhythmic breathing. Inhale for 4 counts, pause, then exhale for 6. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the one responsible for relaxation, without shutting down the message you just received. It's a way of saying to your unconscious, I got your message. Now please let me rest so I can integrate it. Conscious preparation before sleep can also deeply enrich the quality of your nighttime awakenings. Jung practiced what he called setting an intention, a deliberate moment before falling asleep in which he asked a specific question to the unconscious. If you're facing a dilemma or seeking clarity in any area of life, form a clear, heartfelt question before going to sleep. Not something abstract or rhetorical, but something personal and concrete. How can I handle this conflict with my coworker? Or what's the next step in my creative journey? Speak the question out loud or write it in your journal, then release it consciously as you drift off. Often, you'll find yourself waking up at the very moment when the answer is starting to emerge. It's as if your inner wisdom scheduled a nighttime meeting with you and woke you up right on time to deliver the message. But perhaps the most transformative part of all this work is applying these insights in your waking life. Jung wasn't interested in abstract interpretations. He cared about real-life transformation. The true value of a symbol or message from the unconscious lies in how it changes the way you live. When you receive a message through a nighttime awakening, ask yourself, how can I honor this message today? What action, even a small one, can I take that acknowledges what I've learned? This bridge between insight and action is what Jung called realizing the symbol, letting it become real in your everyday life. For example, if you wake at 3 a.m. with a strong feeling that your creativity is being suppressed, maybe your action is to spend just 15 minutes that morning drawing freely, writing without filter, or simply watching the sunrise in silence. The size of the action matters less than its symbolic power, a conscious acknowledgement of the message received. Over time, you'll begin to notice subtle but profound transformations. Old patterns of thought and behavior start to dissolve. New paths open where there used to be dead ends. Decisions that once seemed impossible become clear. Relationships shift. And interestingly, your sleep often starts to stabilize naturally. That's because these awakenings are often the unconscious trying to get your attention. When you learn to listen and respond, it no longer has to shout. A more fluent, gentle dialogue begins, where insights can come through dreams or quiet reflections during the day. Jung witnessed this in many of his patients. Those who learned to communicate with their unconscious often reported improvement, not only in specific symptoms, but in their overall sense of peace, purpose, and vitality. One of the most powerful shifts people experience is recognizing what Jung called the creative role of the negative. What once appeared as a problem, insomnia, disruptive awakenings, reveals itself as a portal to deeper awareness. Jung often quoted an old alchemical saying, "In filth it will be found." In other words, the gold is hidden in what we usually try to avoid. Sleep disturbances, when approached with the right attitude, are not obstacles, they're guides. Many people find that when they approach their nighttime awakenings with curiosity instead of resistance, not only does their sleep improve, but so does their relationship with life's challenges. Problems become opportunities. Crises become invitations to evolve. What felt like a curse turns out to be a disguised blessing. There are countless stories of people who transformed their sleep through this Jungian approach. One of Jung's clients, as he recounts in his memoirs, suffered from chronic insomnia for years, having tried every kind of medication and therapy without success. The key breakthrough came when she realized she always woke at exactly 2:15 a.m. Digging deeper, she remembered that her grandmother, whom she loved dearly, had passed away at exactly 2:15 a.m. many years earlier. Her grandmother had been a storyteller and artist who never got the chance to fully express her talents. Through her awakening work, the woman realized that her own suppressed creativity was calling out. The legacy of her grandmother was alive in her, waking her up to be seen and honored. When she began to express herself artistically in daily life, her awakenings gradually stopped, not by coincidence, but because the message had been received and integrated. The unconscious no longer had to interrupt her sleep to be heard. Stories like this are common in Jungian therapy. They show us a deep truth. What we call problems are often just misunderstood messages. As Jung wrote, "What you resist persists." When we fight our awakenings, when we treat them like enemies to be silenced, we often ensure their return. Only when we turn toward them, with openness and curiosity, does their deeper meaning emerge. Some of the greatest leaps in human creativity and consciousness have come in those fragile thresholds between sleep and wakefulness. The ancient Greeks even had names for these states: hypnagogic, falling asleep, and hypnopompic, waking up, times when the veil between worlds is thinnest. Many great scientists and artists received their most powerful inspirations during these states. The chemist Auguste Kekule discovered the structure of benzene after seeing a dreamlike vision of a snake biting its own tail, the ancient symbol of the Ouroboros, which Jung saw as the image of wholeness. Mary Shelley conceived Frankenstein in a dream. Salvador Dali purposely induced hypnagogic states to harvest surreal images for his art. Jung didn't see this as coincidence. He saw it as proof that the deepest wisdom often comes when the conscious mind lets go and something new can emerge. When you begin to work consciously with your nighttime awakenings, you're creating the same. Conditions for inspiration, healing, and deep insight. You're not just solving a sleep issue. You're stepping into your personal transformation. As Jung said, the journey of individuation is not a straight line. It's a spiral, a dance of loss and renewal. And these nighttime awakenings, they're not interruptions, they're milestones.